arik maimer for itself. The reason it was muget was edited by the Rebbe. This is a maimer from Wednesday Parsha Pinchas, the 16th of Tammuz, 1975. The Rebbe began the Farbrengen then. I remember it. The words, the first words of the Farbrengen was the sudden Farbrengen. It was not after an ale, and the Rebbe started the Farbrengen. This was the evening before Shivas of Tammuz. So the Rebbe says it's Tezayin Tammuz. I think the Rebbe said in the evening, and Mashiach did not arrive yet. That's how he began the Farbrengen. So we knew that this is going to be our Farbrengen, zu singen and zu sagen. And there was a maimer. The Rebbe gave us directives for the 3 weeks then, to do everything with a minyan, Torah, tzedakah, charity, davening, prayer. There was a lot of heroes. It was a very serious time by the Rebbe. And the Rebbe was Magia this maimer, and then there were 2 maimerim of Tzion b'mishpat Tipoda, and they were both merged into one maimer, a very long maimer. Became one long maimer, which is a few weeks later that the Rebbe said. It's a very serious time by the Rebbe. This was all regarding the situation in Eretz Yisrael, and the maimer happens to speak about dividing Eretz Yisrael, Israel, for the different tribes.
What year was this?
1975. Mention it. Ach beged, so the Rebbe begins the maimer. Ach begedel yacholek es haaretz. That begedel with a lottery, the Eretz Yisrael should be divided. You see in the footnote 1, it says that it's the shiur. This verse is from the Torah portion that we learn, as we learn it through the week, Tuesday, but the details of the inheritance and everything speaks about is on Wednesday. So therefore, when the Rebbe was saying this Maimer Wednesday, this all relates to the topic of the parsha. Chalukas Eretz HaKedesh dividing Eretz Yisrael, Shekofshu Eretz Canaan, Vasu Eiso Eretz Yisrael. They conquered Eretz Canaan and they made it Eretz Yisrael. Vache Eid B'Yeis B'nei Yisrael Bamidbar. That in the time yet that the Jewish nation were in the desert. Terem Shabol Eretz Yisrael, before they came to Israel. Nemar Aleo Eretz Asher Gemer Eini Havaya Lekecha B'Mereshas Hashana V'Adach Rishona. That this is as they are still at the stage of finding themselves in the desert before they came into Eretz Yisrael, about which it is said, this is about Israel, which is said that this is a land that the eyes of Hashem focus on the land from the beginning of the year till the end of the year. In a Mevair, so what does he say about this land? That the Chalukah of Eretz HaKedesh, dividing the land, is by the gedoling of lottery. And then also it says also that it was al pi Hashem, words of Hashem. Umefarish Rashi, and Rashi explains beruach hakedesh, the sacred intuition. Then there was a third feature in dividing the land. That it was a logical feature. That a greater tribe, someone that has more members, receives greater land, more land. Somebody less receives less. Shahu inyan al pi seichel. This is the inyan which is logic. The literal meaning of what it means for a greater tribe to give more. Rashi explains, which Rashi, the commentator Rashi, is the pshuti shel mikra, the literal meaning of the words of the verse. That what is it? What does he say? L'shevet shayim merube b'uchlisin nosnu chelik rav. A shevet, a tribe which has a lot of members, they gave a greater share of land. Shaloi hoyu achalokim shavim chulu. All the parts were not all equal. The chalukah zui al pi seichel. This is logical. So there are 3 different formats how it was accomplished. Lottery, which is the Ratzon of Hashem, the will of Hashem. Then you have Al Pi Hashem, the words of Hashem. And then you have Al Pi Seichel. V'agam the Ramban Poligal Zevachin Yesh Pirushim Macherim Berashi. And although the Ramban, Rabbi Meisha, the son of Nachman, disputes it, the explanation of Rashi. V'chein Yesh Pirushim Macherim Berashi. And then there's also other explanations in Rashi itself. In other words, other commentaries on Rashi. Harei haRamban mefarish kavonas Rashi kipshuta. Ramban explains that the intention, that the meaning of Rashi means literally what Rashi says, that it depends what the size of the tribe is. And even the Ramban and other commentators that explain the words of Rashi like the Ramban, hine mezeh gufa shelefi pirusham hutzrach hakosov lishlel hachaluk al piseichol. Since according to their explanation, their opinion, the pasuk needed to negate and say no, it was not done logically. From this we understand that that it could have a connection to a logical, that it should be a logical division, dividing it in a logical way. The Rebbe says, but what we're discussing here primarily is the literal meaning of the verse. Upashtus pirush Rashi, and the literal meaning of the explanation of Rashi Vasifri. There was according to the number of people. This is a chalukah division logically. Nimtza shebachalukah sa'aretz kum tachuis, that in the chalukah, in the division of the land, hayu gimel inyanim. There were three things: al pi gedol, which is a lottery; al pi ruach hakodesh, that a person, that's Moshe Rabbeinu or whoever, had a sacred intuition; ve'al pi seichel hamuvan gam nefesh hasichlis, in a logical way, that even the soul, which is the mediator between the godly soul and the animal soul, also could relate to it and understands it.
The Ruach HaKodesh is referring to as Urim Tumim, they would ask, but that's not, is that what it's
pastors. I think it's mentioned in the 5 L'chol. Yeah. V'hinei ha'inyan d'chalukos haaretz. That's one more paragraph. V'hinei ha'inyan d'chalukos haaretz al pi gedol. The inyan of dividing the land according to Gedol Mevayer Kvi Kedushas Admurat Tzemach Tzedek. Tzemach Tzedek explains Miyusad. He explains it, as says, based on what the Alter Rebbe said. A Maimar of the Alter Rebbe, which we don't have the Maimar of the Alter Rebbe. That's why in footnote 11 you will only see that it's brought in Eira Teira.
But you don't have that specific.
We don't have the Maimar of the Alter Rebbe. And it could be that in later years after 1975 it was found, because this was edited in 1975. But it's based on the Alter Rebbe's Maimar. All the Rabbeim, they base it all on the Alter Rebbe's Maimar.
Is the stuff that's stuck in Russia now some stuff we never ever saw or heard of or saw?
Pastors, yeah. I mean, the Rebbe Rashab has a library of 12,000 Sfarim, mostly printed Sfarim, not really manuscripts so much. There's a Shas that they say there's a Shas, could be from the Alter Rebbe Shas yet. That's where Sfarim.
Is there stuff in Russia now that we're trying to get that we've never seen? That is like.
Yeah, I mean, this is the library, like, and also
manuscripts. I mean, like
manuscript. There's a container that was discovered about 10 years ago. That the Frierdiker Rebbe left in Poland, was taken away in Poland, and ended up in Russia during the wartime, and that's where they just discovered it 10 years ago. This was part of all the containers that came in 1978. There was a whole thing, that delivery then that was brought, and they didn't know where this was. When they found out about it. It was a big simcha.
So if they get these writings, we can see new MaMaar, new sichos that we never saw.
In general, the Rebbe says that Rabbeim would always base one Maimar on the previous one. The Rebbe says like two prophets, they'll say the same thing but in a different style. Ein shnei neviim misnabim b'signen echad. So sometimes there could be. I mean, occasionally we do see an inyan echsidus, a new inyan that we didn't see before. So the Mela, the Alter Rebbe concentrates on what Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai says in Yedei Beis Derech Milichem Meisi. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai was 120 years old. Before he passed away, he started to cry. Talmidim asked him, why you're crying? He says, I don't know what direction they're taking me. Gan Eden or the other way. The L'cheira Tamua V'harei Ribaz Liholach Daladamas B'lei Teira B'lei Tefillin. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai did not walk 4 cubic feet, he says, without Teira, without studying Teira, without film. And 40 years he learned, and 40 years he taught Teira. How is he doubtful what direction they're taking?